Let's talk about something huge in biblical prophecy, the Great Tribulation. You hear that phrase, and it probably brings to mind some pretty specific and maybe even terrifying images of the future. For most of us, the Great Tribulation means one thing: a future time of just unprecedented global chaos, suffering, and persecution. I mean, it's an idea that's fueled books, blockbuster movies, you name it. But what if that's not the whole story? What if the greatest, most intense trial in the history of the world isn't something we're all hurtling towards? What if it's already in our rearview mirror? To really unpack this idea, we have to start with a clue. A little breadcrumb left for us by an ancient witness, the Apostle John, writing while he was in exile. Now listen really closely to how he describes himself here. He says he's their brother, sure, but he also says he's their companion in tribulation. That phrase, that is our key. Did you catch that? It's so subtle, but it changes everything. John doesn't say he's waiting for tribulation. He says he's a companion in it. Right then, that one tiny word, in, suggests this isn't some future horror flick for him. It's his present reality. So if he's already in it, what does that it really mean? Well, to get to the bottom of that, we've got to do a little word study and look at the original Greek. Okay, so the Greek word for tribulation is phlipsis, and this word doesn't just mean a bad time. Its root meaning is about pressure, compression, being squeezed under an immense weight. So think of it less like a date on a calendar and more like an intense, crushing state of being. And then there's companion. The word is koinonos. This means a partner, someone who is actively participating and sharing in something with you. Not just waiting on the sidelines with you, but in the thick of it. All right, so let's put those two pieces together. John is saying he's a koinonos in the phlipsis, a partner in the pressure. And according to this viewpoint, it's not just any old pressure. It's specifically the pressure of Christ, a partnership in the unique suffering that defined his work, the very thing that opens up his kingdom. This brings us to a huge question, right? If John was a partner in this ultimate cosmic pressure, what was it? Where was the epicenter? Well, this whole perspective points to one single moment in all of human history: the cross.
Now, to see why, let's go back for a second. For centuries, Old Testament prophets used this really dramatic, almost apocalyptic language to talk about a future day of the Lord. The prophet Amos, for example, talked about a day when the sun would just go out at high noon, a sign that something cosmically massive was happening.
Okay, hold that thought and let's jump forward to the crucifixion. What happens? Starting at the 6th hour, midday, just like the prophecy, a deep darkness falls over the entire land. The language is an almost perfect mirror. According to this viewpoint, that's no coincidence. That darkness wasn't just some freak weather event. It was the literal fulfillment of that end times language. It was the signal that the great day of Clipsis, of cosmic pressure, had finally arrived. And it's not just the darkness either. This interpretation connects a whole host of other famous end times prophecies directly to the cross. Things like the shaking of the heavens, the description of a man of sorrows, and even Jesus' own words about a great tribulation are all seen as pointing directly to his own suffering and death. Okay, so I know what you're probably thinking right now. If the Great Tribulation is over, then what about all the very real suffering and persecution that believers have faced for 2,000 years and are still facing today? That's a crucial question. And here's where this framework makes a really important distinction. It separates the Great Tribulation from a believer's tribulation. So the Great Tribulation was the cross, a singular, finished cosmic event. A believer's tribulation, on the other hand, is our ongoing experience of pressure, persecution, self-denial. But here's the kicker. One is finished, which means we face the other from a position of victory. So this view doesn't try to erase or explain away personal hardship at all. In fact, it affirms it. Scripture is pretty clear that suffering persecution is part of the deal, but it completely reframes that suffering. It's not a scary sign of an impending apocalypse. It's a way of participating in a victory that has already been won. So what's the big takeaway from all this? It's a fundamental shift in our posture, really. It's a journey from a mindset of terror to one of victory. By locating the Great Tribulation at the cross, the focus moves away from anxiously scanning the headlines for signs of the end. Instead, we can focus on confidently living in the reality of Christ's finished work. The thing we're supposed to dread becomes the very source of our hope. And Jesus himself might have given the most powerful summary of this whole idea. He looked at his followers and said, "In the world you will have tribulation." He didn't sugarcoat it, but he immediately followed it with, "But be of good cheer, I have overcome the world." He's essentially saying, yes, the pressure is real, but relax. The main event is over, and I won. So, just to wrap it all up, this perspective argues that the Great Tribulation was a singular event, totally fulfilled at the cross, and this reframes our own suffering not as a sign of an apocalypse to come, but as our participation in a victory already won. Which leaves us with one final thought to chew on. How does everything change? Your life, your view of suffering, your purpose? If the world's greatest trial isn't a terrifying event we're waiting for, but a triumphant one we're looking back on.